Greetings from Tokyo, support WrestleTalk. My buddy Godzilla up there. Enjoy this news video or review video or whatever video Ollie decides to put it in front of. But remember, support WrestleTalk.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Thanks for your support on Patreon, X, Red, White and Black X of the Trio of Lunatics. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Super News! I'm Ollie Davis, and thanks to Luke for sending in that bumper at the start of the episode all the way from his holiday in Japan. He'll be back on Monday to review AEW Full Gear. If he isn't eaten by that Godzilla first! Oh my god, Luke! Run! Run! Please press the thumbs up button and give us a subscribe. Despite slaying the Beast Brock Lesnar to win the Universal Championship twice and get an engaged IRL to Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins hasn't had the best 2019. It started with an awkward storyline back in June, putting Rollins and Lynch together as a power couple act against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, and culminated in a large portion of the crowd fully turning against him during his feud with Bray Wyatt's Fiend, where Rollins once cried in the ring from terror, not historically the most brave babyface of traits, and then beat Wyatt at Hell in a Cell in one of the most negatively received WWE finishes of all time, when most fans just wanted to see the Fiend win. And also, to paraphrase Oscar Wilde, sometimes shoots imitate works, brother, as Rollins consistently came across as rather unlikable on social media, tweeting about his bank account balance to Will Ospreay. Seth Rollins was no longer cool. According to Fightful Select, though, WWE might have plans to fix just that. Following Seth's Hell in a Cell win over The Fiend at the start of October, Dave Meltzer reported that WWE had absolutely no plans to turn Rollins heel, despite all the obvious opportunities to do so. Well, it appears something must have changed in the weeks that followed, as Sean Ross Sapp has revealed original plans for Crown Jewel had Seth turning heel on Wyatt. We're told that a follow-up match for Saudi Arabia was always planned for Seth Rollins and The Fiend, but originally Saudi Arabia was supposed to be their last one, with a double term planned. We don't currently know who is next planned to face The Fiend for the Universal title, and it's probably not The Miz, who's being advertised to face El Dominio, Bray Wyatt, at the 30th of November WWE live show in Mexico. But with WWE champion Brock Lesnar set to take on Rey Mysterio at Survivor Series, you'd imagine The Fiend will either be facing NXT champion Adam Cole to fit in with the brand split champion versus champion themes of previous years, or to simply revive his story with Rollins, who he's been facing and beating in the dark match for Monday's Raw and at house shows since his win. In that case, perhaps WWE have moved their double-term plans from Crown Jewel to a potential Seth versus Bray match at Survivor Series to have a major angle on the show, especially with Triple H trying to persuade Rollins to turn to the black and gold side on this week's Raw, tempting him to rejoin NXT. Random Halloween picture of Kevin Hart dressed as The Rock from the late 90s segue. Seth's Rah-Rah Gate has rather overshadowed the real story of WWE's travel issues in Saudi Arabia, which came with reports from the Wrestling Observer that there were disputes over money between the country and WWE. The company blamed mechanical issues with their plane for the majority of the crew and wrestlers being stuck in Saudi. Stuck in Saudi, by the way, should totally be the name of their next pay-per-view there, and reportedly reiterated that at the talent meeting before Monday's Raw. Apparently, some wrestlers still don't believe that version of events, asking why they couldn't have just been put on another plane. But Corey Graves sure does on WWE's only official podcast after the bell, which I'm sure has no agenda at all. Long story short, speaking from personal experience, we got on the plane, in our seats and ready to take off. The flight crew took our food orders, there was confusion regarding the pilots, there was some sort of mechanical issue, they shut the plane down, restarted it. In the time it took to get this done, the flight crew had timed out, and we were informed that we would not be taking off. They deplaned everybody, management came around and said, if we can get a group of you guys to SmackDown, would you be willing to do it? This is where it comes down to being a professional. What it boiled down to was the people that were advertised for SmackDown. It had nothing to do with who was more important or who had the most cachet, which totally makes sense with the second chartered flight that took off with those advertised for the following day's SmackDown on a plane that just missed the start of the show. In the wrestlers who took against that version of events, though, I think it was more at the wording of WWE's public statement on the day that said several superstars felt so strongly that they arranged for their own separate charter in order to make it back to the US for the show, implying publicly that those that didn't charter a flight didn't care enough. And as Corey's comments suggest, it was WWE management that arranged that flight, not the superstars themselves. The other criticism was how Vince McMahon left the country soon after the show on his private jet. Corey explained how that situation has been misinterpreted. What really got to me was when the rumors started coming out. The first one being that Vince left everybody in Saudi Arabia. That's not true. If you work here, you know that every week, no matter where we are, as soon as the final bell rings, Vince gets on his jet and goes home or to the next city because the guy is busy running WWE. Vince did exactly what he has done every week without fail. That reminds me, I've got to get on my private jet to do the AEW live review up later. Hot tag to you, Chopper!
Thanks, Ollie. We're still trying to figure out our Thursday format, what with all that wrestling to cover. So now it's time for your weekly rundown of NXT and AEW headlines, news, top story, reviews. I'll possibly come up with a better title than that. It goes without saying, major spoilers for both AEW and NXT. I'll be going through AEW first and then NXT, so if you want to avoid spoilers for any one particular show but want to hear about the other, press the timestamps in the video description below. Firstly, let's take a look at AEW, who had their Go Home show for Full Gear this week, and what a Go Home show it was. The episode ended with a big brawl, furthering relationships between characters and feuds heading into this weekend's show. Speaking of which, Laurie and I will be doing live reactions for Full Gear on Saturday, so stay tuned to WrestleTalk for that. One of the biggest talking points coming out of the show was Cody's promo that he made midway through the night. Advertised as a career announcement, it did not disappoint, as he added yet another stipulation onto his AEW World Championship match against Chris Jericho, stating that if he couldn't beat Jericho, he would never challenge for the AEW World title again. This came off the back of an incredible promo from Cody, running down all the insults Jericho has given upon him and firing them back, before going into a passionate rage and listing off all the things that make this title match important. Their match on Saturday feels like one of the biggest matches going right now, and this promo only elevated that further. It seems this is a common opinion, as Jim Cornette took to Twitter to praise Cody's promo. The promo Cody Rhodes just cut on AEW is the modern version of his dad's Hard Times promo. To quote The Dream, "That's how you do it, kid." Being compared to one of the greatest promos of all time? Yeah, sounds about right. Elsewhere on the show, Private Party managed to take the bronze medal in the tag team tournament, and as such, they were added to the AEW tag team title match at Full Gear against SCU and the Lucha Bros. There was also confirmation of Joey Janela versus Shawn Spears at Full Gear, which makes Full Gear an 8-match card, culminating with Jericho versus Cody for the AEW title and Omega versus Moxley in an unsanctioned match. But which of those two matches will close out the show on Saturday? Well, according to Dave Meltzer on Twitter, the Light Out match between Moxley and Omega will close the show to play into the Light Out stipulation, as the rest of the show must take place before it. This is one of the rare occasions where it makes more sense to not have your main title close the show. Now let's flip on over to NXT, and after NXT invaded both Raw and SmackDown this week, there were probably some repercussions, right? Those repercussions came in the form of the OC, who came out and targeted the Undisputed Era before instigating a verbal war with Tommaso Ciampa, which led to the announcement of the main event that evening: Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle, and Keith Lee versus the OC. Said main event was a great match, which is just shocking considering the talent competing in the match. There was never a finish to this match, however, as it all came to a head following a ref bump. Finn Balor came down when it looked like Ciampa was going to get the victory over Styles. Balor hit the 1916 onto Matt Riddle on the outside, while the distraction allowed Styles to hit a Pele kick to Ciampa. The two stared each other down before Styles raised a too sweet and Balor raised his finger guns. This then led to Adam Cole coming out, super kicking Styles before also hitting a last shot onto Ciampa. Everyone hates everyone, and I love it. What does this mean for Balor? Is there some sort of Bullet Club reunion in place despite Styles and Balor never being in Bullet Club at the same time? Or was this merely a mutual sign of respect? AJ certainly seemed interested in Balor's heel turn, tweeting, well, 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 in response to it when it first happened. Finn joining the OC? Probably not, but maybe they start their own version of Bullet Club, where Finn reigns supreme down in NXT, while the OC rule the main roster. I like that. Also on the show, it was officially announced that the men's War Games match is taking place, and it will be Undisputed Era versus Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and an unannounced fourth member. You'd think that would be Johnny Gargano, but he very well may be caught up in a singles match with Balor at the show. And finally, it was announced that Dakota Kai missed out on her spot in the women's War Games match, with the fourth spot instead going to Mia Yim. This seems like an odd decision, but perhaps could be leading to something greater down the line with Kai. There's one spot left on Shayna Baszler's team, and neither of the horsewomen have been picked yet. What if Baszler picks Dakota Kai? Before we end today, we've got a new signee for Crap Gimmick Wrestling, which is a segment in which you guys send in your crap gimmicks, and we sign the best worst gimmicks to Crap Gimmick Wrestling. Today we've got another piece of awesome artwork from Lewis Tillett, so welcome to CGW, The Orange. The Orange is the leader of a stable called Gluten 3 and has his own talk show segment called The Highlight Peel. Orange runs roughshod over CGW, hitting his patented finisher, the Vitamin C DT, and captures the hearts and minds of the CGW universe with his signature catchphrase, Juicy. Thank you and congratulations to Joel Bevan for sending that crap gimmick into us. The Orange is all crap. Follow Crap Gimmicks on Twitter and support Lewis on Patreon by pressing the CGW link in the description below. And if you want to find out about Randy Orton's future, it's been confirmed, so press the video to the right and press the video below that to find out more about a backstage showdown that's happened within WWE. I've been Chopper Peak 1L, and that was wrestling.